Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is the second episode in the series Ham Radio Without a Radio, where I show you how to do things without actually owning a radio. This is great if you don't own a radio or you've yet to be licensed or you're just getting in the hobby. I've learned tremendous amount of things using this same method where I'm able to do a lot of the same things in ham radio that someone with a big $1,000 radio can do just with running some software on my computer and connecting to an SDR that someone else runs. To me, these are great reasons why people run these SDRs, is to help new people out or just help people who's experimenting and being able to reach other areas. I highly recommend playing in SDR if you haven't yet. This will help you get into some of the more advanced things in ham radio, again without actually having to own a radio. In this episode, we're going to learn how to decode FT8 over HF radio using a web SDR. And then we're going to take that data and we're going to put it on a map like what you see on the computer behind me, where you can actually see where those signals are coming from and going to when it comes to the location of the SDR's antenna. There's a ton you can learn from doing this, and if you own a radio or plan on buying a radio, you could use this same method. Just hook up the audio to the computer and use that as a sound input. So let's jump right into it and start using FT8 today. We're going to do this using various tools such as VB Audio, which is a virtual audio cable. I have other videos in this series talking about how to set this up. So if you want to learn how to set this up step by step, please check out the playlist in the description below and watch the first video in that series. I already have it installed on this computer, so I'm going to move on from that. We're also going to use a tool called Kiwi SDR, which is a open source internet accessible SDR that you can use to receive a lot of the HF signals and things like that without even owning a radio. Basically, someone at their QTH has this set up and they share access to their antenna and SDR over the internet. I want to select a random location here and make sure that I'm able to connect and that it works. Alright, and it appears to be working fine. I'm going to mute it. Again, a lot of these tools I've already showed in other videos, but today we're going to focus on the WSJT-X software. And with this software you can do things like FT8, FT4, and many of the other protocols, Whisper, things like that, that people use in ham radio. This is a very good tool to have in your arsenal. I use it to test antennas, receivability, and things like that. Not 100% the best way to do it. At least it puts on a little bit of numbers instead of just trying to reach out and ask, hey, can you hear me? So I'm going to go ahead and download the 64-bit version of the WSJT-X. And again, these links will be available in the description box below. So that file is downloading. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and install this file and click I agree. And I'm going to go ahead and add it to the system path for all users. While that's installing, we're going to discuss this waterfall here. So again, I've talked about this in other videos, but you see here there's Whisper. If you don't see this, right click here and click DX Community Database. And we're going to go, seem to have better luck during the day in the 20 meter band. And in this band you'll see FT8 and FT4. I'm definitely going to do FT8. And if I type in change system sounds and click this right here, then you'll see playback and recording. Assuming you already have VB cable installed, you can right click and set the audio playback for the output from VB cable input. You want that to be the default device on playback. And for recording, you also want this to be the default device for recording. And that's gonna basically pipe the output of this into the input of WSJT-X. So we're gonna go ahead and open that up. We need to go in here and go to settings, and we want to go to audio. We want to change the audio input to the cable output, and we want to change, all of this doesn't really bother us in this case. I like to go ahead and change it anyway. Put the cable output and input together, and we click OK. And honestly, at this point, you've got VB cable installed, you've got your browser pulled up with Kiwi SDR, outputting audio into the VB cable, and instantly we are ready to go. So our WSJT-X should be functioning, and in 3 seconds here we should see some data pop up. Alright, I ran into some issues along the way trying to get it all configured and set up, so I had to take it offline for a minute. But what I ended up doing, so this was muted, I had to unmute it, and then I went in here and made some enhancements. So I've learned that what Microsoft tries to do is make microphones better for speech and things like that. And I've learned that going in, change system sounds, and go to recording and clicking on your cable output, make sure enable audio enhancements is unchecked. And do the same thing in the playback section. Go to advanced. Make sure those are unchecked, because these enhancements are great for voice, but they're not very good for data transmissions and things like that. So I unchecked that. What I forgot was, when I messed with those settings, you have to close and reopen the applications that are connecting to it, or it won't actually function. So what I did, I went in here and I made sure under settings that under reporting, this is 127.0.0.1 and this is 2237. If those are changed, that's okay. You just have to ensure you change them in Grid Tracker. So in Grid Tracker, you click the settings icon, and you make sure that this is checked and that these numbers match. So you'll see here all these little dots on this map. Those are things that this Kiwi receiver is actually receiving, and my WSJT-X is taking in the audio for that, and it's converting the audio to the data that the actual hams are sending. And Grid Tracker receives those packets and puts them on a map, and you can see the connections that these people are making between each other. You can zoom in here, and you can see like all these on the map. It literally just started, so within 30 minutes this whole map will probably be full, just depending on the Kiwi SDR that you're connected to, where it's at, the propagation at the time of the day, and how good their antenna is, right? So one thing that I love to do is to use my SDR, as I mentioned earlier, with an antenna. And it don't even take a good antenna. I'm receiving signals all across the world with my cheap antenna. I do plan on building some antennas just to use with this, some really easy, simple antennas that it's literally splicing a couple wires. Something I plan on doing in the future. Be sure to check that out. But using just a browser and some downloaded software, I'm able to get the same experience, or at least the receive portion of the experience of WSJT-X, and able to learn how FT8 works and see the propagation live and stuff like that without actually owning the radio, which is the whole point of this series. Be sure to check out the description below and find the link to my playlist where it's all about doing ham radio without owning a radio. I'm all for purchasing a radio and learning how to transmit and things like that, but when you're new in the field, you don't necessarily want to drop hundreds on a radio to be able to do this, or you don't have your license, so you don't need to buy a radio just yet. For those reasons, this to me, this is how I got started. This is how I learned. I think it's a great way to learn and get started. So click around and figure it out. There's tons of cool features and settings in here, such as the moon, where the moon's at, and that kind of stuff. I hope you're able to take this video and you're able to go farther into ham radio. Again, this is a great way to get into it without being licensed or spending any money, really. If you're looking for a way to be able to do this with your own antenna, or actually receive this in your area, be sure to check out an SDR radio, a software-defined radio. You can buy them as cheap as $35-$40 on Amazon, and it's a great way to get started. Granted, you can't transmit you can't transmit these packets and see how many people are able to receive your transmission, but again, it's an awesome way to get into it. It is how I got into it, was through a little $35 SDR dongle. Don't let anybody tell you that's not ham radio, because to me, ham radio is all about experimentation and receiving and learning and learning about propagation and signals and antenna. And to me, an SDR, even though it doesn't transmit, you don't have to be licensed to do it. And it's a great way to get started. It definitely got me hooked into the hobby, and that's where I am today.